All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to welcome back to another episode of the HHC podcast. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brothers, Chris and Juan. Guys, how are y'all doing today? How y'all doing?
Doing better. Doing good.
Same. Finished up a big part of our my work in terms of our school year, and then got to watch some good Spurs basketball.
Yeah, no kidding. We had that 2-1 start this week, so that was that's a good way to start off the year. Before we do get into our weekly Spurs talk, guys, we come to y'all live every Sunday at 10 a.m. On all platforms of Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, all of which that you can catch us live. And if you aren't able to watch us there, you'll be able to watch the VODs shortly after. Including our clips that will be coming on YouTube throughout the weeks that you can catch the shorter segments. But
Did y'all go and watch any of those clips? They're pretty good to check in on. I watched like maybe 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I make the clips, so I'm getting a good little refresher on how we talk and stuff. It's nice, honestly, to where I get to hear what Juan says, hear what Josh says, and I'm like, we're like having the game later that day, and I'm like, oh, this is what these guys were, this is what they meant when they were talking about Devin doing this or Keldon doing this kind of thing. So it's always cool to catch up on the clips.
Or when Jeremy has brick hands and just
Actually, yeah, that one was like directly you said it, and then it happened.
yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. But before we do get into the full Spurs discussion, we will be doing my weekly challenge, and this is going to be a weekly thing that at the beginning of every episode, I'll be having a couple little questions for the guys to answer, see if they can get right, just about how well our guys did this week. So this is our technically second time of Jake's weekly challenge. This is the thing that we're calling it, right? But this is going to be the first time actually doing some Spurs stats related things, right? So without further ado, I'll be bringing out these questions, and then Chris, Juan, they'll be writing it on a whiteboard. They'll show it up, and we'll see who gets it right. So with the first question of the week, I wanted to know who you guys thought had the highest plus minus, and this is average, right? An average plus minus, so it's not like total plus minus, but the highest average plus minus with more than 15 minutes per game. So while they are getting their answers in, the caveat being that 15 minutes per game is that Gorgie Dang had only 10 minutes. And he only had 10 minutes.
He had a high plus minus,
and he had a higher plus minus than the answer to this question.
Nice.
So I kind of figured that these guys would not put Gorgie up there as their highest plus minus. But there's a little bit of stats for the week on Gorgie. So Juan, Before I don't want you to say your answer, but what's your thought process going into this?
Well, usually like plus minus, like Sean Elliott, he comments pretty regularly on this when Danalytics brings it up, but it could be kind of misleading. You could be playing really well, but your whole team as a whole just kind of falling behind. But I kind of to me, it feels like a simple thought process of who to go with, just the exact type of guy to go with.
Okay. And Chris, what's your thought process going into this?
Well, just the plus minus or the well, I'll say this: the my thought process for the quiz in general, for the challenge in general, because I didn't really look at any box scores too hard this week. Just watch the games, right? So just trying to think of who do I feel made positive impacts on both sides of the court. Who did I not have those moments of like, what the heck are you doing out there? Like,
yeah,
those kind of things, you know what I mean? So that's as close as or like as deep as I'm going with that.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Well, if both of y'all can show up your tablets, your screens to give us our answers. Chris, you have Devin Vassell, and Juan goes with Keldon Big Body
Oh.
Johnson. Well, the correct answer is indeed Keldon Johnson.
Oh.
Keldon
Mhm.
Johnson had a +6 this week on our box scores. And Josh is here in the comments. He's at work, so he isn't able to fully be on with us, but just have him in the comments. Him guessing Jay Rich. I'm gonna count that, Josh.
He said,
that's not a
I'm gonna
bad.
count it wrong, but I'm gonna
I'm
count
kind
it.
of wrong, but that's not a.
That's a good guess too, because Jay Rich in his last couple of games was able to come in and provide some real spark and kind of
Yeah, for sure.
either
And
flip the game.
and between Keldon and Devin, I was thinking about Keldon too because in my notes, no, actually, it was like when we were texting last night, and I had said like Devin's doing a lot. He's creating a lot for himself, but I don't know how much that also bled into helping out others. So
Yeah. So Jake, do you have like the total, or is that a different question?
So the total is a little bit different because it's like if I did the math right, Keldon had a total of +18 um, because NBA stats, NBA.com stats don't have this last game's recorded, and
Mm,
so I had to do those numbers by myself, and I didn't want to be wrong in putting that up. You know what I mean? Trying to give y'all an answer and it not be like the right answer kind of thing.
actual. Yeah.
And so that's why I just went with the average that Keldon had +6. I'm trying to pull up the stats again right now so that I can look at the other players. But Chris, if I'm not mistaken, and I think this kind of goes to show that it plus minus can be very very off because Devin Vassell had one of the worst plus minuses of the week.
nice.
He had a -10 on
Uh-huh.
Wow.
on the board. So
So that's
uh,
averaged over 3 games,
and
negative
that's
10.
averaged over 3 games, right? Because he had a good game in Philly, and he might have had like
Now I didn't really take into account that he had a really rough game one.
Yes.
a really rough
Yeah,
game one, and then
yeah,
and
you're right.
then might have like evened out in Indiana. Plus minus isn't necessarily an individual stat. It's if they're scoring while you're on the floor,
Yeah.
you're getting negatives, and if your team's scoring when you're on the floor, you're getting positives.
Yeah,
So
I
he
will.
could have.
I will admit, like even when I was writing my notes or like just like jotting stuff down for players, I didn't really keep Charlotte in my head too much that opening night one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Everything
exactly.
else after that just felt such like a stark response to opening night that I've already blocked that game out of my head.
Yeah. So Devin had that little thing happening. Let me see. Let me try to pull up
I
the
will
Spurs.
say while you're doing that, Jake, you said this is like our first time using Spurs stats or whatever and all that. I'm still counting my victory from our rap lyrics one last week.
For sure, for sure. We can still do that. But I like whenever we do this point totals, the way that I'm going to be tallying this stuff is if you get the answer correct, that is 1 point total to the tally. So with the I'll have to I can go back to the music challenge and then give everybody their points after this show's said and done.
You
But
mean like the tally's just gonna keep running up every week, or
pretty much like it's not gonna be like if Juan gets the most points, then he just gets 1 point on the week and nobody else scores. It's if Juan got 3 questions right and Chris gets 2 questions right, then the score is Juan 3, Chris
yeah?
2,
Okay,
stuff like that. So
okay,
that's how I'm gonna do it with these single question type things. That way, if you're getting one of the harder questions right, you're still gonna get the point. Whereas, stuff like that, right?
yeah, okay.
And so yeah, and in the average, Devin Vassell had -10.3 on the week. Like I said, I can't look at totals just yet because NBA stats didn't have that stuff up. So and again, I don't want to be giving misinformation.
Mhm.
Keldon Johnson had the 6. Our next highest with 15 minutes was Jakob with a positive +0.7.
Dang.
Wow.
And so I think that kind of shows. Or go ahead.
All that is the same, like minimum of 15 minutes or whatever.
Yes,
Mhm.
minimum of 15 minutes. Because Above Jakob is Romeo Langford with 3, Isaiah Roby with 5,
Yeah. And
Gorgie at the top with 9, right?
Yeah.
So again, I think that shows plus minus can be kind of shrewd. Sorry, it's not exactly 1-to-1. Like this is a stat that you gotta be focusing on in order to determine how good a player is. But I thought that was a fun little stat.
Yeah.
Our next question: of our guards, who has the highest field goal percentage through this week? So I think because again, I'm making it a little specific. I'm not using. I said guards and not players on our team, and that is to kind of take out the top 3 choices. Keita Bates Diop had an 80% field goal percentage on 1.7 attempts within the 3 games. Isaiah Roby had a 75% field goal percentage on 2 attempts per game. Again, this is on average stuff, not totals, right? Because again, NBA stats didn't have the totals. And then Jakob finished the week 60% from the field, 9.3 attempts per game, making 5.7 attempts, or making 5.7 field goals. So, Chris, we'll go with you. What's your thought process going into this?
I mean, when you say guards, I just feel like it's down to our 2 point guards at this point. And I can only really remember one like bad miss from Trey. I feel like his decision making has been pretty good this week. I know he definitely didn't finish everything, especially trying to get to the rim against some of these bigger guys. But I'm just gonna say or do I say it already?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wrote it down already, but I wrote Trey.
It's Trey. And I'm gonna give Josh this point too. He was able to get this comment in before y'all put your stuff up. So
yeah, maybe we should try to lock in and just I don't know. Like once I write it down, I'll just like do this and show that I'm
okay.
And the same thing for me. He was just pretty efficient, just toward the basket, like with those little floaters and taking them at the right times. I wish Primo would get that little bit of like floater like that he has and confident because
he did do a 1 or 2 right this week.
Yeah,
Primo.
Yeah, and it just seems much more like comfortable within that little pick and roll we do. And if it's really congested, just like throw up that little floater. And Trey's looks like pure every time. Like I'm comfortable with him taking those like whenever he wants, like if he has it.
Yeah. No. So through the 3 games, Trey Jones, our answer, has been putting up 53.1% from the field. He's making 5.7 field goals out of 10.7 attempts per game. So that's really good for Trey. Y'all were talking about Josh Primo a little bit. He's learning, he's getting things figured out. So he started off this week 28.6% from the field, had 2 makes on 7 attempts per game. But I agree with what y'all been saying on Primo though. Like, you can see the tools are there. You can see that like the things that he's making, the decision making that he has, especially when he's getting ready for those shots, like they're not bad decisions. They're just one might not fall in or something like that, right? Like it's just things like that he's still coming along, and Trey is further along on that, right?
Yeah, Trey looked pretty comfortable this week, which is good because he's our, we need him to lead the way.
Point guard.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I said, Trey had that 53.1% field goal percentage. The league average as of October 23rd, right, 2022, the league average this year has been 45.9%. So Trey is well above that league average right now.
For his position, is that what you're saying, or for any position?
It's league wide.
Okay.
And so I mean that accounts for centers, right? That counts like you have all these centers that are getting 60% and stuff like that, and then you're getting guards that are probably not shooting well above 30%. So that was good for me to see whenever I looked at the weekend in total to see that Trey was getting that 53%. The other thing I kind of want to mention for Trey, at least, is that he is, if I'm not mistaken, our 3rd leading scorer, putting up 16.3 a game. And that's good for me to see because I've been pushing the Trey Jones agenda since we drafted him.
Wow,
so,
I didn't know he was averaging 16 a game.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things where he's quietly doing that stuff, right? You're not really thinking about it too much, but he's putting up numbers. He's putting up numbers. So, on to our third and final question. How many players had more than 3 steals throughout these 3 games?
More than 3.
So this is a number.
Yeah.
How many players had more than 3 steals through these games? So, let's see. In order, just to kind of put it up, we had, if I'm not mistaken, looks like 9 people put up at least 1 steal. So we had 9 players get 1 steal through the week. So, real quick, let me go ahead and get our brother Josh up in the in the stream.
So, am I good? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. My fault, y'all. I got work.
You're good. So, Squash, if you can, get up a little notes, a little whiteboard.
Oh, what was the I kind of like took off YouTube right before I logged in. What was the question?
The third question?
Uh-huh.
Okay. How many players had more than 3 steals throughout this week? So it's a number this time.
Right with
players. I was gonna say if you don't have anything, then me and Juan will write. You can go first.
All right.
Yeah.
But let me think for a second.
This is how many players like had more than 3 steals in the span of the 3 games?
Yes. So this is total, right? I was able to look at totals this time around.
All right, I'm locked in.
I'm locked in too.
All right, so then
you want me to go first?
Okay.
Yeah, Josh, go first.
Squasha, what's your thought process?
Honestly, I don't. I'm just trying to remember. I don't have one. I'm taking guesses here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine. So what's your guess? How many players?
I'm going 3. I'm going Trey, Devin, and Keldon.
Okay. Juan?
Wow. I'm kind of guessing. I've seen like a couple of guys like get like a little like jump in the lanes and whatnot, but man, I don't have a thing. I'm going 4.
Dang.
You know what? I was gonna say 4 too because I was gonna throw Yak in there, but I can't remember Yak stealing the ball.
That's exactly who I put in there. I put Yak, Devin, Keldon, and Trey.
Okay,
that was my thought process.
Chris.
Thought process, kind of the same, right? I'm trying to think through plays or any of that kind of stuff, but really, I'm just more on the low end. I can't imagine somebody getting. Well, I guess it would just be like 1 steal per game, so it's not too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I went low and I said 2.
2.
So
Chris says 2.
I was thinking more like Trey is a lock, and then one of Keldon or Devin would be the other.
Okay. All right. So the answer to this question: how many players had 3 steals throughout the week? Was in fact 3. So I was going to have a bonus point here, and I'm still going to give it, but I was going to have a bonus about who they were. Mm-hmm. Josh, you said Trey, Keldon, and Devin. Am I correct? The 3 guys who had 4 steals this week, all of them had 4 steals this week, was indeed Trey, Keldon, and Devin.
Damn, I almost went with Yak too.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the 2. I'm gonna give you the 2 this time, Josh.
Cool. Then I made
just because, man, you got your exactly. So, so Josh now has those 3 right because he got that second question right, and then he got the 2-pointer for this one. Chris, you got both the first 2 right, and then Juan, you got the first 2 right. So that would. Those are the quiz.
Chris got the first one right too. I thought Chris went Devin.
Oh, Chris did go Devin. Man, thank you. Chris almost let it slide.
You trying to
Chris only got 1 right this week. Damn. Chris only got 1 right. Josh got 3 points and Juan with 2. So on Jake's weekly challenge, our current point totals are Josh 3, Chris 1, Juan 2.
Give me that money.
Juan too.
Yes, sir. 1, 2.
Man,
1, 2, 3.
I trusted Yak way too much. He had one steal.
Yeah, I was gonna go look at that after you brought
It's
it
funny
up.
because like I was like this close to putting him in there. I just figured he would have some bad passes and him just catching it. And
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's exactly how, like, just him like get a little deflection into the post. That's
Yeah,
wow.
stop a lob happening or something.
No,
Mhm.
yeah.
well, I don't know.
So,
Joel did have 40 last night. Maybe he wasn't
Yeah.
stealing nothing.
Right.
well, those are the 3 questions that I brought up this week. We're gonna be once again we will be doing this at a weekly thing to keep our guys on their toes. Obviously, me being the host of the weekly challenge, I don't get to be a part of this year's game. If I'm not mistaken, I won last year's point tallies, didn't I? Pretty sure I did. So if I didn't get up super close, then we'll just say I backed out. I retired after being up high. So this year it's going to be between the 3 brothers. We'll be seeing who's gonna be the most knowledgeable on our Spurs stats. And Chris is right on this. You don't have to be You don't have to be box score watching the entire time. If you understand, Josh, I doubt Josh ever looks at box scores. So
I hate him.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
And so for him to be the person who guessed correctly that Trey, Keldon, and Devin were the only 3 people to have more than 3 steals this week, just watching the games. So, but guys, obviously we do the quiz challenge of last week's games to go into our weekly thoughts of last week's games. We played against Philly. We had a nice upset against Philly. We had a good win against Indiana, and a not so good looking game against Charlotte to start off the year. But was there anything this week that really stood out for y'all? Was there anybody?
Yeah, even the Indiana game was not good for me. That was a horrible way to end the game.
Okay, so
Josh, we played super bad. I thought we got lucky. I think we got lucky.
What were some of the things that you saw that really got you going in the Indiana game then?
Got me going? I mean,
yeah, what got you riled up? What got you upset at the end of the game?
Well, dude, we just could not take care of the ball. It was ridiculous. We had stupid plays. I can't. Dang, it's kind of slipping my mind. It's like they put any type of pressure on us in the backcourt, and we were just throwing the ball all over the place. We could not inbound the ball. It was kind of just. I guess our youth really showed because it was. They came back it was tough. It was a good win, I guess. We did get the dub, but.
Yeah, Chris. You said you were able to watch.
Shout out Jakob, right?
Yeah.
For at least making a couple of those free throws.
Yeah,
a couple.
He made a lot.
How many did he
took 21. He took 21, I think.
Let me go. Let me
13 free throws. 13 out of 21 from the free throw line.
Yeah, he took 21 free throws, and they were saying that was the most since David. I think that's what they were saying. So
wow, that's
I think it was Tim Duncan, maybe.
Was it Timmy? I thought it was since David.
I mean, either way.
Is that almost over 60%? Because 14,
62, 61 from free throw line.
That's good. That's good to see from Yak at least. So.
Yeah. In terms of my overarching thoughts of the week, I'm way more positive, just in the sense that again the second 2 games felt and I'll caveat that I only got to watch the first half and a little bit of the third quarter of the Indy game. I watched it yesterday, and I didn't watch a lot of the fourth quarter, what you're saying. I had heard that they kind of gave up a lead and barely hung on to kind of hold on to the victory. But so I didn't really get to see that part. So in my head, it's almost like we just did a really good job of responding to that opening night. But even so, even with the things that Josh just said, about how they were feeling frantic and not really knowing what to do in pressure or whatever, I feel like they already responded to that against Philly. You know what I mean? The next night, because it was a pretty good game in terms of we controlled the game most of the time. They made a few runs. They even took the lead, I think, twice in the second half. Off of those runs. So I was happy with the week. I think it was a great week of basketball.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I took it as well. I watched the whole of the Charlotte game, and that game was like, even
Mhm.
though we got down in a hole early, like we were still fighting, and then all the way to the end of the third quarter into the fourth, it kind of just blew open. And yeah, like everybody, you could call it the opening night, like jitters, where everybody's a little too amped up, whatever it may be. I agree. It felt like we responded the right way to start Indiana, and then you completely just fall apart in that fourth quarter. And if that's you, if that's not being good enough, whatever the case was, like I agree. Like in the Philadelphia game, they learned from it and they were able to fight through. And Joel Embiid was getting his numbers and getting all his stuff, so it was like competitive. But just, I think that was a good takeaway. It was just seeing the team after each game, figure something out, or like
Yeah.
realize, all right, we got to close this game out, or we got to do this a certain way. They came out better in both games, the Philadelphia and the Indiana game,
Yeah.
way better than the Charlotte game. So that's how I took it. Now defensively, like the Indiana game, like you gave up 49 in the fourth quarter, like 49 points in one quarter. I, I don't even know if there's, like, I don't care how old or young your team is, 49 points in a quarter is outrageous. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is good. It is good though, at least that like so far in 3 games, the 3 games have felt kind of different from each other, versus like we find the same way to lose the game 3 times in a row or something like that. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So
Yeah. No. I we had a little bit of stuff going on this week, so I wasn't able to fully watch the Sixers game, and then I honestly just wasn't even able to catch the Pacers game this week. So it was definitely something to just like hear from you guys on like how good we were doing in the Indiana game at least. I kept hearing a good little bit from Devin, which is good to hear coming off of how bad almost everybody was. Everybody pretty much except for Keldon Johnson, right? But pretty much how bad our guys were in Charlotte, right? So to hear that we were able to kind of just have a bounce back game, to be able to finally shoot the ball and score compared to what it looked like in Charlotte,
yeah,
right?
and we did it, and we did it on the road too twice. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of good.
Exactly. And I was watching. I was able to watch a replay of the Sixers Spurs game, and man, it looked really nice seeing how comfortable our guys look. Like they're not looking like they're like they're not looking like they're really trying to figure themselves out. Like I feel like Devin is starting to find his identity a lot quicker than what anybody was thinking. Keldon, was finding his identity last year and is just adding on to it this year. Trey looks very comfortable in these first 3 games. I'm very happy to see what I saw from Trey Jones through this week. Like we said, he's averaging 17 points. So I don't think anybody was thinking Trey Jones was going to be 17 points through the first week of NBA basketball, right? Um, and it's just things like that like it excites me for the year, because even if we are going to be losing games, even if maybe it's a fluke, maybe we shouldn't have beaten Philly, but we were just able to get a good win, uh, it doesn't really matter, because we're still showing off that we're not going to be like the most boring team to watch. Like there's going to be a lot of things that throughout this year that we're going to be able to just be like, this is something to look forward to every single game. What matchups we're looking at, what defensive capabilities we have. I know, Juan, how good was our defense this last week?
Uh, when I was looking through like the stats and stuff, because I'm not like the biggest box score like analytics guy, but I like looking at the numbers every now and then. And through 1 week of NBA basketball, we were ranked 29th in defensive rating. And that Charlotte game, they put up over like 130 points on us, and then we gave up 130 to Indiana as well. There were just certain moments where it felt like we couldn't stop anybody. Joel Embiid, for like all it's worth, was the best player we went against, and he made it look the easiest because of his talent. Everybody else was just kind of walking all over us and getting whatever they want. In my opinion, that's how I saw it.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so when I say defensive capabilities, I'm obviously not talking about how good we are right now. But I'm talking about the little spots here and there where you can see steals from our team, where you can see Jeremy Sohan, being out there, being versatile defensively, so
Yeah.
so it's things like that where it's like we're not most likely not going to be one of the best defensive teams like we usually are, but we'll be seeing what it looks like for our guys to eventually become one of the better defensive teams in the league.
Yeah, and unfortunately though, it's also showing. It's gonna show, or so far we've seen that it means that if we're hitting shots, that's okay to a certain extent, and if we're not, it can get real ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If it wasn't for our 3-point shooting in Philly and India, which I didn't think would be a strong point in our offense, like I didn't think we had shooters. I know we got Doug and we got Jay Rich, and when Philly was making their runs, it was like one of those two guys hitting a timely three or back-to-back threes.
Yeah,
like
Philly
that
was
kept
definitely
us up.
timely threes.
Yeah, like I don't know, like it's just like Chris said, man, we're relying on that three ball in the last two games at least. Like if we're not knocking them bad boys down, it's
Yeah.
gonna be Charlotte all over again.
That's what I was gonna say. It's gonna tie into that point later. We're gonna get into, but like our offensive rating. While I was looking at the defense rating, our offensive rating right now is 9th in the league, and that's with like those like you would think, right, like above par like nights from deep. And if you don't have the three ball going that night, like Charlotte, you know
That's it.
that's how
That's it.
bad
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
it.
bad the games can get.
Yeah, and right now we're only 1 week in, so the numbers are going to be swayed. Every single game is going to
Yeah.
change the rankings pretty a lot, but that at least through 1 week, that's kind of what we've seen. At least it's there's a willingness, right, to shoot, and there's an aggressiveness to the offense and that kind of stuff. So like what I had wrote down on one of my notes, I don't know, right? I'm trying to figure out like what's the most efficient way to keep my thoughts in order when over the week. And on one of the notes that I was writing, it's like it looks like we're going to be trying to have good fundamental Spurs basketball, which is good because you're hoping to build good habits, and then it just is going to come down to, are we making the shots or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one of the things that I do want to shout out are our veterans off the bench. I want to shout out Michael Douglas McJordan. That's what I'm gonna call him right now because Dougie McBuckets was going crazy this week.
Yeah, he's been playing good.
He freaking like he it's crazy. Looking at the week, he was shooting 63% from three, and that's that's a great week. That's a great week when you're shooting 60% from three. And then also Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson's was crazy in the Indiana game. Again, I didn't get to watch it, but to hear, I think it was like 23 points off the bench for us.
27 for
20,
Josh Richardson.
27 points off the bench for us. So 27 points from Josh Richardson in a game that I think if I'm not mistaken, because I was talking to our dad about it, he said that like he saw Josh had like our clutch three to kind of send it, to make sure that we're finishing the game right. And so I believe so, at least, right? It was something like that, and that's great. Chris was really emphasizing it in the first week about keeping these veterans, not just trading them, because they do have value for staying on our team right now.
Well, I want to ask because like it did kind of tie in a little bit to how we were talking about it last year. Like Juan, we see that indie game and Jay Rich is kind of leading the production from the second unit or whatever. You had mentioned like I don't want them out there taking these shots because that means less shots for others. So like when you see that game, like did you see that in a kind of in a negative way? Do you see it as it's a temporary thing? We're still in the phase of trying to get these guys trade value up. Like where was your head at for that?
See, this is where it's tough, is because like when you're watching the game and you're winning, you'll take it however way you can. But like when you have time to like look back and see, like Josh in that Indiana game, he played 28 minutes and he was on fire. He scored 27 points. Like you can't, right? It's like you don't want to knock it. Like some of these people on Twitter like are mad that we won 2 games and because they want us to like be completely defeated this year. But it's like when you're watching the games, you can't help but just be excited for these guys and rooting and be like hyped. Like when Dougie came in, I think was that the Charlotte game. He came in that game and was like on fire like that. Like you're happy and excited. When I get upset is when I look at the box scores and I look at the time and there is no minutes for Blake or for Malachi, Isaiah Roby. Like I want those guys to get minutes and start learning, because you see some of these other young guys on other teams, they make like impact just because they get the opportunities, you know. Um, I don't know. I'm happy for like Josh and Doug to do this, and like I think Jacob brought it up last week. Like if they can do this for the first half of the year, and then like when it comes to trade deadline, if a team is like desperate and really needs like Dougie on their team for some 3-point shooting, and we get a pick out of it, that'll be sweet, and then we can play our guys. But I don't know. I get it. I understand the value of vets and teaching them how to be pros and how to live their lives and how to be ready and prepare for games. Like that stuff is invaluable, and whatever they can offer the young guys, like I'm all for it. I just kind of wish there was like a balance of like, can we like play some young guys as well, get them on the court, but I don't know.
I
That's how I
think that we should have took a page out of like Miami's book and had like a Haslam. Like instead of we have guys fighting for our 15th spot on the roster, like young guys, that's where our vets should be. To me, we should have the guys down there and then teaching them that stuff. Like, because it's kind of whack that we have not seen Blake or Malachi play.
Yeah.
Roby, I think, barely got minutes last game against Philly, and then he had a couple jump shots, and then he was back on the bench. Like, so to me, it's frustrating. Like, yeah, we do got 2 wins. They've been good, but I mean, I don't know. I want to see these guys play.
No, I think I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping that we are seeing that turnaround for Isaiah Roby. I think like seeing Kata play a lot of minutes in that first game, and
The
then
first 2 games, and then Roby.
and then finally Roby really, kind of flipping it right there where he gets the 14 minutes and Kata only got 4. So I'm hoping that at least with Isaiah Roby that's our plan, is that we are going to start integrating him into the offense, because I think that there's a lot more upside to having Roby out there than there is with Kata, on both ends of the floor.
Well, and also like it's like we want to see Blake and we want to see Malachi, but when your vets are going out and again, like it's not like that they're just there to be like a symbol of how to do it right. Like they went out and showed it on the court.
Yeah.
They produced the numbers. They did the right things. So like it's hard to justify. Well, I didn't need to get him out here yet. Like he's watching, he's learning. And you know what I mean. Like it's happening right now. Whereas on the flip side, like Kata Bates, like I wrote it in my notes too. Like if our plan is to up our older guys' value up and then make a switch later, blah blah blah. Like Kata Bates is one of the guys who didn't shine as much in this week, right? As like Doug and J Rich did. The only bad thing is I feel like that kind of it's either gonna hurt us because we're gonna have to we're gonna keep sticking with Kata Bates to try to get his make it to where he's shining in a way, and then we make a switch, or and that prolongs the time until we get to see Roby, or he just plays really bad and then maybe we get that switch sooner.
Mm-hmm. And I always said this. I feel so bad that how aggressive I am with trying to get Kata Bates off the court, but he never does anything wrong. He plays his role. I guess sometimes I feel like he takes it upon himself to kind of do like a Euro step, spin move, layup or whatnot. Like
a little bit of that Rudy Gay, like, oh, I got the ball.
Yeah, and
I got it.
But like, he's a good guy and he does everything right. It just feels like the team is so young, and you want to see some of these young guys learn how to play with each other and whatnot. But you're right, Chris. Like when Dougie comes out against Philadelphia and he's 4 from 5 from 3 and he's like running all over the place and doing everything right. But then like on the other end, when I see him, I don't know, slap another guy and give them an N1 layup, it's like, I'm like, well, just give me Malachi. Like, let me see somebody else. But I don't know. It's a balance. And that's just kind of part of being like a fan, like I'm like on the highs and lows of it all. And I get it. Like when Doug and Josh are providing and giving so much production, it's hard not to just go with them right now and let everybody see like what it's like and how you're supposed to, I don't know, even like just prepare to come off the bench and like be a player, like be ready for your team. Like that stuff is invaluable.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's just where we are in the season. Regardless of if you want to see the vets on the team or if you don't, this is the time when the vets are going to play at the beginning of the year. So
yeah, and I was hoping in that Indiana game, because we were up by like 22 points. I was hoping we would blow that thing open so our guys could get playing time, and then
Same thing with the
Tyrese
Charlotte
Halliburton
game.
like went off in the fourth, and then
Yeah. I
and
wrote
then that was it.
I wrote it down for the Charlotte game. We conceded the game at 8:48 in the fourth quarter. So that's
Yeah, and still no minutes for the rookies. That was
mhm.
I don't know.
It-
That's the one little thing with like the pop and the coaching staff is why not just let them just run out there? There used to be Jonathan Simmons showing up in the games to dunk on people. Why can't we get like our young guys to
to do the
just show
same
up for a
thing.
blowout, even if we're losing?
Yeah.
In any blowout, yeah, either way, right?
I think the one thing that I've thought about, especially just with Doug in general, was like coming into the season. I was like, if Doug can show that he's going to be like a freaking 60%, 50% 3-point shooter, uh, um, at the very beginning of the season for us, like it's gonna make his trade value skyrocket. We're at the beginning of the year and we're already seeing the teams that need 3-point shooters. We're already seeing the contenders that could use a Doug on their team right now.
Mhm.
And I think for me, like, the biggest name is Los Angeles, right? Like we're seeing that like the Lakers cannot shoot threes. Like they don't really have anybody that's like a 3-point specialist on their team. They're
Yeah.
bringing guys from the G League to try to see if they could add 3-point shooting to their team. And so then why not just trade for Doug McDermott? You know what I mean? You have
You see how big of a shooting responsibility you can already see they're gonna put on Lonnie too.
Yeah,
exactly. And so you bring Doug to the Lakers, and now he's making threes while being in a system.
What do
full
the
of guys
Lakers
that's
have
like,
that we want?
picks?
Picks.
Do they
Yeah.
do they have them?
Yeah, they
well,
have
Two
these
first round picks.
future
they're like
picks.
future picks, and the best case scenario is that like they fall apart, and it's like the Brooklyn Nets picks that the Celtics had for a while, where they were just like giving them top 5 picks year after year because
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then and at the same time, you're trading Doug
And it could
McDermott.
happen because Bronny's right. Bronny's
Yeah.
gonna graduate, and then LeBron's gonna leave, and then
yeah, and if they have no
AD's broken.
You're literally trading Doug McDermott, like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
who shouldn't be on your team by 2027, or whenever those picks are gonna be coming in, and by that point, like
I
think
just wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure what kind of picks they had because I knew that's kind of been their dilemma is they don't have the draft. They don't have the draft angle. They don't have the money angle, and they, you know what I mean. Like they're held to they're strapped right now.
But that's why I think it's a perfect situation in order to because if you are getting a first round pick for Doug McDermott, make it way far when it shouldn't matter to quote unquote when it shouldn't matter to both teams. You know what I mean? But it's going to matter for us because all that kind of stuff, right? So that's just how I feel with the vets. I'm glad that they're doing good because it keeps raising their value because it keeps making teams be like, we need a 3-and-D guy like Josh Richardson. We need somebody who's I don't think anybody really thinks of him as spark plug material, but if he is being spark plug for us this year, then he could be spark plug for someone else.
Now one of the vets though that I do really think that we should and we probably will hang on to is Gorgie. Like just seeing
5 dimes yesterday.
right? And well, I didn't even know that. But really, where my head is at is it was apparent that at some point they took out Collins it's because they felt that the matchup was better. So to see him be successful and kind of hold his own a little bit against Embiid as best as he could, but just the idea of them feeling like they had that option. So shout out to him. I was happy to see more from the coaching point of view. I was like, okay, good. Like, keep Collins out there as your backup 5, but if it's not working and you feel like Gorgie's a better play, then let that go too. So like, I was glad that they felt that they were a little bit interchangeable in that moment. And I think he ended up going back to Collins too by the end of the game at some point. So I was happy with those adjustments.
Well, we are talking about that Philly game, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I wanted to bring up, kind of for our week is like, we played against Charlotte, we played against Indiana, we played against Philly, and obviously Charlotte without LaMelo should be a bad team. We just didn't shoot well, right? and so that's kind of an off night for us. Indiana and us are kind of in the same boat on how good we're supposed to be, but we beat Philly. We beat Philly, and I would say pretty convincingly, and it was something for me that I kind of want to bring up. This is just to kind of change it up a little bit. I want to know your guys' thoughts on if Philly are frauds. If you think that
Dude,
like from this week, this makes Philly frauds.
Yeah, so my homies texted me and they're like, "Damn, are the Spurs that good?" And I was like, "Honestly, I think Philly's just bad." Like, like I'm not gonna say that Charles Barkley, because they played primetime and I was watching that game, and Charles said the same thing. Like, Philly's gonna stink. Like, if this is the type of ball they're gonna play, they're gonna be bad, and they're 0-3. Like, it's not us saying they're frauds. Like, these fools are already saying they're frauds. They cannot win with James Harden just
that's
doing
the thing.
whatever the hell he's been doing. Yeah, he gets his numbers, but they have no movement. Joel Embiid goes one-on-one or Harden goes one-on-one. And you see how they could lose a game with you getting 40 plus. And I mean, there's just no basketball being played.
Yeah. So they lost to Boston on opening night. Good team, and then they lost to Milwaukee by 2 points. So, those are two decent teams like in the East to like lose to if you're going to lose. But I agree with Josh. They're the way they play basketball, and they're kind of top heavy. Like, who else do they have outside of James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid?
And Joel, yeah.
Like, Tobias Harris.
But Tobias is kind of like, I think I'm not going to say he's on the decline, but you don't hear as much as Tobias talk.
You don't hear him as much because he's a fourth option right now. Because he's not like I'll be a little bit in defense of Tobias Harris in saying that like he's playing his role in Philly. He just so happens to get paid max money for it. He could be getting he could be a 20-point per game scorer on a different team as a second option. Wow. But he's the fourth option in Philly. Well, then and Doc he's getting paid max money to be the fourth option.
Who's their sixth
man?
But
even then, like if he's a fourth option, then Maxey passed him up already. Then he's probably on the decline.
Well, no, it's just Maxey's just
that's just how the numbers are checked out.
Yeah,
like if he was the fourth option making $11 million per year, you wouldn't have any negative things to say about him. You just say, oh yeah, he plays his role. He's not too high, too low. He's right where he needs to be. Like that's how you would view him. But because he gets paid a lot of money, it changes the way that people talk about him.
Well, no, Jake just said he could go get 20 plus. I mean, if he could do that
as a second option. I'm saying you move him up, you give him touches, and he gets 20 points per game.
He's averaging 14 points a game on 11 shots a game right now. So those are good. Those are good numbers, good percentages. Fourth option, but okay, outside of those four guys. It looks like they got PJ Tucker. They have Montrezl Harrell. I didn't even know he was on the Sixers until.
Remember Trey Jones, or was it Trey Jones that freaking bowed him over? He like flew like he was a little baby. What are you doing?
So, I don't know. They got a lot of top heavy stuff, but it's kind of the same stuff like with Houston with James Harden. Like I don't ever see that winning, and then you got to be like peak LeBron James level to win like that, and James Harden is on the decline himself. That guy is, I don't know how many times he tried just running over like Trey Jones and then would look at the ref and be like, yo, like help me out here. And the Sixers, like, I don't know, maybe it's just like deep rooted like Houston hate still, but I don't think the Sixers will go far. And then I don't like Philadelphia because I'm a Cowboys fan, so that's another reason.
Yeah,
I don't like Doc. I've always felt like Doc was overrated too.
Yeah.
Doc got his one in Boston, and that was because they gave him those Hall of Famers. But like, other than that, he did nothing with the Clippers. Like he's over here now. They've done nothing.
Well, and that's kind of like I feel the same kind of way about especially about James Harden, right? And just the idea of like his type of basketball is not winning basketball, and so it follows him. You know what I mean? He brings that kind of play to wherever team he's been doing. But so I'm kind of the same way. And then also with Doc, I don't really like hate Doc that much. But same kind of thing when he was with the Clippers, I kind of felt that Chris Paul played a lot like that kind of same kind of the basketball that I don't want to see. So then it's like I've had a little bit of that same relationship with Duck too. So
Mhm.
I don't know if they're like frauds. Like they are top heavy, but that's what wins you games. They're gonna be a top 5 seed probably in the East. I don't know how much faith. I'm like Charles Barkley in the or maybe it was Shaq. I don't know. Who just has high expectations for like, okay, like if you're Joel Embiid, you need to be a dominant force. I would like for him to be a dominant force. I want less success for them because James Harden is on their team.
Yeah.
But when they didn't have them, I was like, first they choked against the Hawks. Like the Hawks should never have beaten them a couple years ago. And that's why people have expectations of the Hawks all of a sudden because they went to the Eastern Conference that finals that 1 year, and it's like, yo, like Philly just choked hard, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Are they frauds? They're probably right in the middle. They're above average because they have a lot of talent. But I hated watching them.
Yeah.
I hated watching them play basketball yesterday or whatever. I was happy for us to go in with a lot of energy because their gym was boring and quiet, and maybe because it was the baseball game was later that night and it was an early game or whatever. I liked
I
hearing
think they were going at the same time.
so,
That's what Sean
yeah,
said, right? Yeah,
the game,
Sean said that it was gonna
the
be,
basketball game started first, and then the baseball game
game right
started.
after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like to the point where like I loved hearing their crowd boo them. It's like good,
Mm.
So
Mhm.
like, and that probably is the James Harden hate for real. But
Yeah.
anyways,
And I had to bring this topic up because I am a certified James Harden hater. Because as I said last week, and as I will continue to say, James Harden is a cone on defense. I will I will not let you try to explain to me like why he is an above average defender when I don't think he really ever has been. Maybe 1 year in Houston,
Wait,
right,
people said that?
where like yeah, like because the numbers, right, the advanced defensive metrics say that he's a good paint defender, and it's like he's a guard. Like who cares about him being a good paint defender when he's a guard, when he's supposed to guard out in the perimeter, So it's just like I wanted to bring it up just because I'm happy. I'm very happy.
yeah,
We could have gone 1-2 this week, and I still would have been happy if we would have beaten Philly, and it's just because one, that's the best team of the three, and two, we're beating James Harden. I'm never
and
gonna get.
oh, go ahead.
I'm never gonna be happier beating a rival. Like I'm never gonna be more happier than beating the rival in that sense. And James Harden's always been the rival for me. So, what were you gonna say, Chris?
Oh, just like you were saying, as long as it was for Philly, and yes, because of all the James Harden stuff, but also just because like it is a star-studded team. They obviously played to their stars. Joel goes off and gets his numbers. James Harden tried, like Juan was saying, he tried to bully Trey on purpose multiple times to the point where Pop even had to switch out and go with Primo for a little bit. And again, I think he ended up going back to Trey by the end of the game. But so to see us get a win against that kind of team, because that's kind of how star-studded basketball is, right? Like it's kind of slower and they run through their name, through the big names and this and that, and a lot of times it can break you just because of talent, right? We see Dallas do it all the time, and with Luka, so like I was glad to see out of the 3 games, wins and losses, we're all pretty much in agreement, like we just can't think about them as much this year, but to see that one be a win for sure, that was a highlight.
Exactly. And we did go 2-1 this week, and that's like something I don't think anybody was really expecting San Antonio to be doing. It's crazy that like both us and Utah, right? Like Utah was beating Denver this week. We saw Colin Sexton freaking take it to Jokic.
The young bull.
Yeah, we're seeing
Red Dope or whatever he
we're
did.
seeing our teams we're seeing the teams that are supposed to be at the bottom starting off the year good, which is always fun to see. I think all of us are in agreement that we would much rather see all 30 teams be more competitive than seeing the bottom 5 teams fighting to tank every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we went against one of the other teams that are in our boat. We went against Indiana, and there's a lot of talk when it comes to Indiana, but more specifically when it comes to Tyrese Halliburton, right? because as Spurs fans, Juan perfectly said it before the podcast that there's a lot of Spurs fans that want to have this revisionist history where they say that we should have drafted Tyrese Halliburton over Devin Vassell. Me being the president of the Devin Vassell fan club, I'll never say that. I'll never say that we should have done that. But we got to see Tyrese Halliburton in full force against us, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on how well you thought he did. Like I said, I didn't get to watch the game. I can only look at stat lines. I could replay it later, but I didn't get a good feel as to how good he did. All I get to see is that his numbers weren't as good as they usually are, and Devin's numbers were better than they usually are. So
No, well, he did end up finishing with his numbers. He ended up with like 27 and 12.
27 and 12.
Isn't it like I guess I want to say efficiency wise, right?
He only played 11 first half minutes. I saw, for whatever reason, I thought he got hurt because he didn't play like the whole second quarter. And I was like, damn, I guess he got hurt. And then nope, that fool was right back out in the second half.
He got his numbers, and he got, I don't know, when I watched like the highlights, some of his drives towards the basket, he was getting like a couple of and one calls that were like really ticky tack, like I don't know, they were touch fouls.
They were on one with that, like that other guy too. I forgot his name. Every time he would, yeah, exactly. Every time he would get to the basket, whistle. I'm like, what the heck's going on here, man?
Yeah. Early on in the game, Devin Vassell drove to the basket and he got like clobbered. And then I was like, all right, if that's how we're playing this game. And then from then on, Indiana was just getting little touch fouls, little free throw calls. But when it comes to Devin and Halliburton, Tyrese is a good player. He's a really good player, right? Really fine player. And, you could say he was a little bit more polished coming out of college and whatnot. I'll give you all that. But I just think this season shows like, oh, you give Devin the same amount of opportunities that Halliburton has had. Yeah, he'll throw up 20 points a night as well. And Halliburton's a point guard, so he's going to finish with more assists and do stuff like that. And it's going to it's going to be like that LeBron effect where like he's going to finish with like 25 and 10, but a guy like a pure scorer is only going to finish with 25. Like that's how it's going to be. I just think this is just another example. Maybe I don't think Devin would have been throwing up 20 a night like as a rookie, but this just shows like, yeah, like Jake and Chris said like last week, like Halliburton was on a bad team to start with in Sacramento. He had all these opportunities. If Halliburton would have been on our team, he would have been behind LeBron, DeMar, DeJounte, Derek, Patty Mills. He would not have been able to put up those type of numbers, but because he was on Sacramento, he puts them up early on a losing team that's going nowhere as well. And when Devin Vassell has the opportunity to be like a top option on his team, he also puts up those numbers. That's how I see it. Halliburton I still think right now is a little bit more refined, a little bit more comfortable in it getting to his spots. But like when I look at his stats, it is like his free throw numbers. He gets to the basket, you know what I mean, and it helps like elevate his thing. And to me, that's always the difference between like a good scorer and a great scorer. Like somebody who can score at all levels but get to the basket, and then those free throw numbers just elevate your numbers. But in the game, you have 25. You took like 10 shots, and that I think they're both good players, and I just think Devin getting the opportunity this year is going to show like, oh yeah, I can average 20 a game as well, and probably more.
I think that Devin should have been doing that last year. I told y'all he shot too much. I told you that Devin could get to the basket anytime he wanted. So I wish that you would say the same thing about Devin, like, oh man, he only took 10 shots, but he scored 25 points. You know what I mean? I would love for that to be Devin. But to me, they're falling right now, so it's kind of hard to be like, hey, don't shoot the damn ball. I mean, game one, obviously, I think he went like 0 for 8 or 0 for 9.
Yeah, he didn't hit a
like
single
that.
three the first game.
Yeah, but like the last two games are falling, so it's kind of like you kind of take when you're hot. You're right. You take it. You'll take the makes. But I still wish that he would go to the basket more than he does. I think Sean Elliott said in game one too, like that he wished he would go to the basket instead of settling for threes. So I think that he could have that type of game too, like you're saying, Juan, where you score 25 but only take 12 shots.
Yeah, I
just wish that he would drive more. Like he's too damn big. He's too damn long. Did you see the up and under?
He's very capable
last game
being
but
a
he would
legit
drive.
3-level scorer, like a legit 3-level scorer, and that involves attacking the basket. I
Yeah.
agree. Sometimes it feels like he shies away, and I don't know if that has to do with like us not getting calls or whatever, but I
Now
agree.
you
Like,
got to put it. Keldon Johnson. I mean, that guy goes at everybody,
well, yeah,
and hopefully that rubs off. I mean, we got a whole season for it to rub off on him. It's just them two now. Like, you know what I mean? As far
Devin's
as
got a little bit of that, like attack of the rim, through contact kind of stuff. He's got a
I
little.
feel like he's more finesse. Like he
Oh
tries
yeah,
to go.
for sure.
Like
Oh, yeah.
he tries to move more than
But didn't
Keldon
didn't
does.
he get like a pretty strong finish dunk through
He
contact?
had a backdoor cut that Gorgie like set that fool up perfect, and he had
yeah,
like the dunk over Embiid coming from like the weak side.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I guess it was on Embiid. Embiid was like far away, but I
yeah.
mean he did have
One of
that.
those.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did have that like little that good little dunk. He got all hype and he let out a little KJ yell. But
Yeah, and I don't know,
I still wish that he
maybe
would
also
roll the
though
basketball.
it's just part of our game plan right now of like don't be afraid to shoot from perimeter. You know what I mean? Not to think as
I think
much,
as a
and
whole we fall in love with the three as a whole.
I mean
Well,
as a whole league, and that's just how it
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
That,
I hate it.
that's what I was gonna say. I know, Josh. That's kind of the difference. Is like I'm like just in the middle of like the old school generation and the new school. I'm kind of getting.
I feel like there's times for it. It's like, man, like when they're falling, but like game one, they're not falling, so you switch. And then when they're falling, obviously they're falling. You keep
Yeah,
on shooting. So I just wish they had like a switch, man. If Devin's 0 for 8, like by the time you're like 0 for 5, 0 for 6, take the ball to the damn basket. That's how I
I,
feel.
I totally get like what you're saying. It's just the new age basketball is to just if you're gonna miss a shot, you gotta miss it from deep because you're just the analytics they just say like if you hit the three, you know what I mean? Like if you go 2 for 10 on three and you go 4 for 10
Yeah.
on twos, like
That's what we were saying last year too. Of like when we were
But
talking about the increased opportunities, we were like, or at least myself, even back to like Derek White is like, I'll take a 4 for 12, I'll take a 4 for 12 from 3-point game because yeah, you're shooting 33%, but you're scoring 12 points just on 3-pointers, and that's not account for free throws. That's not account for anything in the paint or
I
anywhere
just feel
else.
like when
So.
you drive, better things happen. Like yeah, you're 0 for 10, and then like, but
Well, I mean,
when you drive the ball, better things happen.
theoretically, these
You
threes
after
could come off of
Jakob.
drives and kicks and that kind of
Oh no,
stuff.
I'm just saying like Jakob, when he gets in foul trouble, then like put some of that on somebody else. If Devin's going to the ball, I mean Devin and KJ, if you have those guys attacking Joel Embiid, you know, hopefully he gets 2 or 3 ticky tack fouls, and then we're in business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Like
For sure.
the things that come with drives are so much better than missing 10 damn shots from the 3-point
No,
line.
I agree.
Like even if you missed a shot, like I mean, foul trouble is a part of the game. You know, like
yeah.
there's just
And
so much good stuff that comes off of drives. I just
I
wish that we
agree.
would drive the ball.
But like to what you said, like the last couple of games showed like what it's like when he is hitting those shots. He's
But
literally
it
just
wasn't just him; it was everybody. It's like the damn team caught
I
foul.
know, but that exactly. So that's why they take those shots because when they're rolling, like it kind of that's kind of just today's basketball. And that's kind of to the point where Jake said, like, are we a good team or are we frauds? I think we were just hitting our threes, and that kind of it wins you games in today's NBA. Devin's shots, like in Philadelphia, like he hit a wide variety of threes. He had dribble pull up threes, he had coming off of screen threes, he had above the break threes where it's just like rebound, kick it to him, he just let it fly. And I think that shows the potential of like what type of player he could be. Because I agree with you. I don't think he needs to take every shot from deep. And if he can start working the 3-level scoring, it's just going to open up for everybody, not just himself. And like, that's just how it is. I have a little bit more to talk about, like our team taking threes and how it affects later. But as far as the Devin versus Tyrese, like Halliburton's a point guard, his numbers are going to be like, he's going to have high assist numbers. And to his credit, he also scores high. So like he's a good player. But at the time, we didn't need a point guard. We had a bunch of ball handlers. I don't think that was just in our game plan at the time.
I would have still took it just makes me mad because we traded everybody.
Yeah.
Like yeah, we had a bunch of wings, but then they're all gone a year later. You know what I mean? So it does make me mad. I mean, we had a bunch of point guards. We had Patty, Derek, and DJ.
And
now we
DeMar.
don't have either. And now we don't have either one. None of them.
Yeah.
All four of them bad boys are gone.
No, I think the thing that I could finish off with when it comes to at least Devin is I remember seeing someone compare him to Chris Middleton, and ever since then it was like, oh, like I see it, I see like what they're trying to get at when they say like Devin could be a number 2 to some number 1 in the league at some point, you know, like Juan's saying with that 3-level scoring, you know, there's a lot to be had when you have somebody who can shoot the 3 ball as well as Chris Middleton can, who can shoot in the mid range as well as he can, and then, you know, who's not afraid to take it to the rim whenever he needs to. So, and then also be pretty much one of the anchors on your defense to where you have somebody on the perimeter like that, right? And I think it's, to me, it's a good example of what we could have Devin do. Be better, be worse, however you want to think Devin's ceiling is. I think someone of Chris Middleton's caliber, if you can get your lottery pick to be that good, you're doing something right. You know what I mean? Like, not everyone has to be the guy. So if you can get him to be anywhere near that level, you know, like that's,
And
to
he's
me,
got
that's
the potential to be stronger too.
exactly. So you know, like there's things that you could get out of that, you know. So I think overall, like it, there's still a very good understanding as to why people will try to, you know, say that we should have had Tyrese Halliburton. By no means do I ever think that Tyrese Halliburton's a bad player, but I'm always gonna stick with my guy Devin and saying that, like, we made the right pick. Like we still made the right pick, and it's going to work out for us, even if Tyrese is going to work out for another team, you know. So going on. There's one thing I do want to mention. I think that it was very apparent that we saw how much quicker Keldon was this week. Just before, you know, just to finish off our weekly thoughts, like, you know, Keldon had been saying that he'd lost his 20 pounds, and I think we saw that this week. I think we saw, like, you know, he was a lot quicker. He was moving around a lot better. It was really good to see Keldon do his thing this week, and you know. I think one thing that we did a lot last year, and we might be doing it a lot this year, is when you start to see Keldon do his thing, or when you start to see your best player and your second best player start to consistently do their stuff, you don't talk about them too much because they're just doing it every week, you know. And so to just kind of bring up Keldon being the best player on our team, you know, showing out this week, it's always something that we should shout out because he's doing the dang thing out there.
Devin took a little bit more of the spotlight because of his flashes, and we can't, you know, finish our weekly thoughts just without, I mean, like, Devin was making plays yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like, awesome plays. There was or just the team in general. Many times throughout yesterday, while I was screaming at the TV, clapping at the TV. I got up out of my seat when it was that trade of Gorgie to Devin. Passing and led to the 3, and so to see larger sequences like that already start to happen, man, it's that's what gets me pumped for keeping the season going.
Exactly.
I wish that he would have did it in the second half. That sucker.
Who?
So
Devin scored 20 and then he scored 2 points.
Yeah, but
he could have had a 40 piece. Like,
yeah, but also
I feel like he lost his aggressiveness.
I don't know. I just feel like we were going different directions. Like Vet started taking over in the third quarter. Keldon Johnson started to take over in that third quarter. Like
it's what I said, like, last year. Whenever we got a hot hand, I feel like we do nothing to feed it.
I feel like I remember, like, halves when Lonnie would score 25 and then would finish the game with like 27,
25.
28. Yeah. And I agree. Like that is one thing I wanted to bring up too, was
he scored 2 points. And honestly, the shot that he did was like a tough, like, fade away. Like, it was a good shot. He did too much to score that 2 points.
He scored 17 in the second quarter. So he scored 5 points the rest of the game, like in all the other 3 quarters. Now you won the game. So it's like, or can't really complain too much. But
if we were to have lost, it would have been like, why didn't he touch it? Why didn't he do more?
Like, you gotta get the hot hand rolling. And I am 100% on board with that, because I feel like even DeJounte had halves where he would start off the game on fire.
Yeah.
and
We
just
did
complete.
nothing to help that guy.
Yeah,
But again, like specifically talking about this game, like we were hitting timely threes, and it wasn't just him. It was it was like you said, it was the team. The team was shooting well. Like
Well,
when the team is shooting well, nobody has to work as hard. Like that's how it works.
That's fine and that's good, but we were making plays for everybody. Like, so why not run plays for Devin? Like
I
the
don't think
team was playing good.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to
Like it's
speculate
like
on what Pop's like coaching whatever is throughout the game. But I mean, sometimes maybe it is just let's move the ball. That's our focus. Let's move the ball. Whoever gets the best shot. You know what I mean? Like it's the early part of the season. Like let's keep it
but
simple.
see, but that my thing is, I don't think in the second quarter you were trying to run plays for Devin, and it was still finding his way to him to do that. And that's why I say, like, in the second half, it didn't work out that way for him to get it, and we won. So it's like you can't really complain about it. But like we weren't trying to get Devin
there's
involved
going to
in
be
the first
games
half.
where we're not
And
going to be up, and we're going to
yeah,
need Devin. Oh, he's been hot. He's going to have to hit this three. Let's draw a play for him. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where like you don't want to be like just like a spark plug type of like thing where he came off the bench and hit 10 and 12 points and finished the game with 10 and 12 points. Like I when you're guys like Keldon and Devin, like I want to see consistency through the whole game. I want to see them make an impact every quarter because
I mean, would you say that he made zero impact in the second half?
no, that's why I'm saying I'm not complaining too much because we won the
because it's a
game.
dub.
Yeah,
But again, he had production in the second half, just
I
not offensive production. You know what I mean? And that's all right. Sometimes the chips like fall like that.
I get that. I was just saying, like throughout the season,
Yeah.
if you score 20 in the first half, then let's finish the game with 30, 35, like because then you put the game away. Like you're able to do things like that. To me, that is just the next level, right? Like a next step. And we've had young guys over the last 3 years, 4 years, like have that production like in a half and a quarter, and then you just completely go away from him. And I don't want to believe it's like you always hear the narratives like other teams like, oh, like they don't let you get your numbers in San Antonio. I don't think it's like a selfish thing like on either end. Like I don't think Devin's complaining that he wasn't able to get going. I don't think it's Pop saying like, no, like this is a team. We're not going to let a guy try to spotlight himself, but it's like you can still win ball games because a guy is on fire that night and just had it going. So let him go.
But also in the spirit of like taking what the defense gives you, that's what we were doing and what we were, it was good enough.
And I was gonna say to Keldon and Devin's credit, they both have been averaging like 3.5, 4 assists a game. They make the right passes and they make good passes like within sets, and their playmaking has been, I think, another reason why this offense has been able to work so well because it's not just dribble, dribble, dribble. Oh, I can't shoot, kick it back out to the perimeter. Another guy dribble, dribble, dribble. I think everybody's making plays off of each other's drives and kicks and like stuff like that.
And also like when it comes to like that second half kind of stuff, like how you're getting defended in the first half when you're getting free to all your spots versus in the second half when the coaches ripped into your team saying, hey, quit letting Devin get to this spot. Hey, stop letting Devin do this. Like it's, so instead of getting to this open spot, now I got kind of to that spot, but it opened up this pass. And all of a sudden this is happening instead off of the same action or off of the same aggressiveness. But instead
that's fine. I get what you're saying. If Devin had like 6 second half assists, then we wouldn't be arguing this, but that's not the case.
Also, this kind of ties in last year as well, where he would get to 22 points.
Now that part I 100% agree with. Like there were times last year when it felt like Devin took himself out of the aggressiveness or whatever, out of the spotlight. So no, for sure, I get what you're saying about keep putting the pressure on. Like when Joel Embiid gets the ball and he has the size advantage, it's no question he's getting the ball, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like it's coming. Cat, I know we're gonna transition here in a second. Like Cat's gonna do the same shit. You know what I mean? So I get that for sure. I get that.
Yeah, no. Like Chris said, we're getting into that transition, and I wanna hear from you guys because again, we're not necessarily looking at this week by week on who we're playing against. We're mainly looking at the individuals. We're looking at what did we see last week that we want to see better this week, or what did we see last week that was good that we want to continue to see, and so I wanted to see what to look forward to in the week, to get the schedule out of the way. We're playing Minnesota on Monday, then we're playing Minnesota again at Minnesota. So Monday and Wednesday we're playing Minnesota, and then we're playing Chicago, reunion with DeMar on Friday. And so I want to hear what you guys are looking forward to. Me personally, I'm kind of hoping to see better matchup for Yak, but we'll see. I mean, we're going against both Rudy and Cat. It's gonna be hard, It's gonna be hard, but I'm not gonna say that it's disappointing to see Joel Embiid get 40 on Jakob, and it wasn't just Jakob. Obviously, there are times when Joel's freaking dominating Gorgie or Zach in the paint. But for the most part, you're going 1-to-1. You hear 40 points, Joel Embiid. We know Jakob's our defensive stud, right? And so I'm looking forward to see Jakob put a little bit of a better fight against Cat maybe, or if it's Rudy that he's primarily up against, whatever the case may be. I want to see a better showing from Yak through the week. Maybe less touches on that offensive end of him taking it to the rim. I wasn't too happy watching as many Yak gets the ball at the top of the key, puts it down, and tries to go for a layup. Like, just a couple of those don't need to go to Yak's way,
Specifically against Philly or so far in the 3 games?
I would say specifically against Philly, but
I think there's a little bit of that, like somebody's got to go at Joel.
Yeah, and I was happy to see him be aggressive. But there was a couple of them. I'm like, all right, Yak, I've seen you do this 3 times today, like, and none of them, not one of them fell. Come on, man. so
you're Josh telling Devin to take it to the basket.
Exactly. Like
you're saying Yak, don't take it to the basket.
Don't take it to the basket. I'm like, I'm on the opposite end right there. I'm like, come on, man, let's chill out a little bit. But I'm just let's just get a little bit more out of Yak. I'm not asking for a huge jump, but just a little bit more out of Yak to where on the defensive end he's killing it, and then on the offensive end, less of the nasty, but more of the prettiness. He's putting up 3 assists per game through the 3 games, and that's wonderful. So like I don't want y'all to think that I'm dissing Yak in any way. But
well, even though you're saying you're not dissing Yak, I'm gonna just add. I don't know. I feel like he answered the call this week. He had 2 tests. One of them being crunch time. We're gonna foul you every possession, which I didn't get to watch, but I mean, did enough to help us win the game. The night, now you got to defend Joel Embiid and still be an anchor on the defense and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I would say that was a pretty successful week for Yak. You know what I mean? So I also am looking forward to seeing what he does next because Cat's another tough cover. And also Cat does like to, is kind of like, he gets a little bit of that James Harden in him of like, I'm just going to run into you and hope that the refs call a foul.
If you put Jakob on Karl Anthony Towns, then who you got on Rudy Gobert?
And that's what I was going to say. I think we're going to get killed that aspect because I do not think – I think that Jakob is not going to guard Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's going to guard Rudy Gobert. And I don't think Sohan is going to guard – I think Cat is going to eat that fool up.
No, you're right. And I was kind of thinking more of Cat as a solo center last year.
Over the 3 games, I'm not going to say he's like – he hasn't done enough. Yeah, like
the times that he looks one step too slow or still figuring it out is on the defensive side. Offensively, he's done exactly what you would want him to do and get you a couple extra points or rebounds or whatever.
Remember last year, Cat against San Antonio, like I could definitely see that happening. In the season.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not 60,
like 3 times within the next week, we could see him go for 40 plus.
Yeah, I think he could put up a 30 piece in one of these 2 games. Like,
agreed. I feel like these games can get ugly.
On me? Ain't no way.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say is Cat has that mindset too of like he'll be ultra aggressive and he'll complain at the refs the whole time and blah blah blah. So
yeah,
I'm not Go ahead, Juan. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for my looking forward to the week, I was going to say because I believe we have Minnesota on Sunday next week as well.
Yes.
3 times like in a week span. I think it's a good test of like kind of not like a playoff thing, but just like showing the guys like how do you make adjustments, you know, from game to game. So if if you get bullied like on the inside, like in the paint in game one, then like how are they going to come back and respond? Or like if you're driving to the basket and it's Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, like I want to see improvements. I want to see them figure it out over the course of the week. Like
Yeah.
each time we play them, Devin and Keldon, like, are you going to just keep driving like right into both of those twin towers, or are you going to find a way to get something else going? And I'm scared. I feel like it could be three ugly games, but I got a little bit optimistic. I think you can hopefully see a little bit of growth each game, see them figure out how to attack that
Yeah.
paint, and then on the other end, trial by fire. Like I know Jeremy didn't play much against Philadelphia. I don't know if it was injury or like Chris said, like the defensive assignments and Pop was just not having it. Like he only played like 10 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
And I I want to see more out of Jeremy on the defensive end because that's where you would feel like he would be excelling at this early, while the offense would be more to come as the
Yeah.
year goes on. And so I feel like sometimes he makes good plays, help defensively. I've seen him get like help blocks, you know what I mean? Getting like rebounds, tapping it back out, just having his size and like that, like on the court next to Yak, feels like it helps a little bit, but there's just like something not clicking, something not missing, or something missing there.
He just looks like he's trying to figure it out still. Like when he, especially on the defensive end, like he's thinking. You could tell.
Yeah. And then I feel bad for him
Dude,
because I said the offensively, like the brick hands and stuff like that. I also feel like sometimes he makes the right pass. It's just a little bit off or a little bit low. And hopefully like things like that
Some
start
people
to,
have that. Some people have the mind and they don't have the skills.
yeah.
Like
So I'm
I
hoping
mean,
that like that stuff kind of starts to work itself
Yeah,
out.
some
And
some people they could see it, but they cannot make the pass, and
yeah.
that's
There's been times where he's caught the ball in the
me.
paint, taking like a dribble,
Yeah,
and
I was
like
gonna say it, but I didn't want to throw you under the bus. But I was gonna be like, "Hey, Jacob knows what to do, but that fool can't do it for shit when we playing."
Yeah, that's me. I know. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, we're talking about actual
And
professional
yeah,
basketball players, and
exactly,
we're comparing it
He's Jake's age. He's literally Jake's age, but a professional basketball player. He'll be
yeah.
okay.
So
He's gonna figure it out.
I know. Well, I get what you're saying, but there's different levels in pros too.
yeah,
Yeah,
and there is,
rookie being one of those levels.
but
3 days,
like,
3 games into your career.
yeah,
You'll
I
be
like
okay.
I
Boy, there's
said
some vets like that.
with Sohan, I think you know you got to kind of have your expectations a certain way. I think he's going to be that Draymond Green. Like, how many times do we see Draymond catch it at the top of the key? Nobody guards him. He runs in and throws up a floater, and it hits the backboard and no iron. Like, you know, that might be Jeremy. Like, that might be Sohan on our team. Like,
See,
but
and that's why I had no high expectations offensively. Y'all are the ones that kind of convinced me and hyped me up of being like, well, at least we don't got to worry about his defense. Like that's
Well-
how I went. That's how I was going into the season, like thinking, well, okay, well he's not gonna score 20 points, but at least he's gonna be solid.
And I would say
that's not even panning out
just
yet
more
for
of like
big
that's
games.
where hopefully the coach's priorities are of like let's make you a good defender, you know what I mean, like, or
And-
let's have that be a point of your strength.
and
And they
it's definitely not like he's been a liability. I've not once
Yeah,
seen a play where I'm
agreed.
like, Jeremy,
I mean,
you're freaking getting
if
killed
you
out
played
there.
10 minutes, if you played 10 minutes and Pop pulls you and sends you, then Pop thought he was a liability.
I mean, yeah,
Pop saw something that he didn't like.
or yeah, I mean, and again, like we're at the stage of the career where you do pull him to sit him, to talk to him, to show him, and then
Exactly, but you don't think that you do that and then, okay, I told you what to do, go do it.
I mean,
Like, why do you leave him on the bench for the whole game?
again, because
I know, and it's
because the
frustrating
things
with
that you
Pop.
sit down to show him, because they're happening right in front of him, and you know what I mean. So if the thing that you're trying to show him is working, you let that lesson keep going, and then it's like, okay, great. The next time you get out there, this is what we want from you. You know.
yeah, and I know he didn't play like the summer league, and that's not like it's like kind of way back, but like that injury, I don't know how much he got to practice. Like, I'm gonna give him like a couple weeks grace period to kind of just get like into rhythm,
Yeah, at least.
get into like going because I think he's making the right plays and I'm comfortable. Sometimes like they'll switch and like a big man will switch and like I don't know. I'm just gonna say Tyrese Maxey. I don't even know if there's really like plays like that. I'm comfortable with Sohan out there like on the perimeter with guards like that, like off a little when people try to switch and get like a big man on them, and it's just Sohan, I'm fine with that matchup and like what he can provide defensively. And I think, I mean, I think he's making the right plays on offense. There, nothing is just kind of falling or working for him.
It's just
And
timing, like, and even the pros got to work on timing at the beginning of the year because that's just how it goes. Like it's all right. These are all new teammates for him. He's our only rookie starter and all that kind of stuff. So I mean,
so that goes to like what I was looking forward to this week is just Jeremy against Minnesota. Like, how is he going to look with a true big man, like two big men right there, and like, how can you affect the game? How can you start to do? Because at some point, right, like, you got to hope he can start like showing those flashes of like defensive like potential of just, I don't know, blocking a shot, getting a steal, a great rotation, and getting a little bit more consistent. If he can do that this week, it's still early. I'm not gonna be
It
too
is.
hard on him, but that's what I want to happen.
So you know how they say, well, I believe Sean or Bill, they said we kind of got, I'm not gonna say lucky with Roby, like OKC had so much talent they had to let somebody go. It had to be Roby. I mean, it was ultimately Roby. Like, what if he turns out to be our 4? What if?
So that's I'm gonna get into that right now.
Because he
right?
can shoot.
Like,
He
what
can
to look
shoot the
forward
ball.
to.
Like, I would love to keep Cat outside the paint. I don't
I'm-
want both of them
I-
over there.
I'm excited to see how
can't shoot.
I'm excited to see how good our fours, right? In that sense of Jeremy, Roby, maybe KBD if he gets minutes, but more so on the other two, right? But because all three of those guys are versatile on defense. Roby less so than the other two, but we're talking about playing against a good 4, a great 4, honestly, and if Cat's being that 4 for Minnesota, and we'll see what these guys can provide on the defensive end. We'll see what challenge these guys are going to get. It's the same. It was the same way last week with what we're seeing. We're going to see how good Devin can be against both Tyrese Maxey, James Harden on the court at the same time, and then Tyrese Halliburton the night before. Stuff like that, right? So now we're moving it down. We're moving it down to bigs because we're going to see Cap 2 times in the same week, and then even then. We're seeing Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards 2 times in the same week. You cannot forget about Anthony Edwards. That guy's going to be crazy. So
yeah. I definitely would like if the coaching staff would prioritize, because of size, prioritize Roby over KBD for this week. Because I mean, like exactly what you just said. Let's see what can you do with Cat backing you down 20 times a game, both. I mean, I don't want to see Jeremy Sohan get just absolutely obliterated, but that would be a good lesson to learn if you're going to see Cat 3 times in a week. Is like, okay, let's see what you can do.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
And as far as the Chicago game, I know DeMar has been going off like he's on fire and whatnot. Like Devin and Keldon, like, can you take that matchup? Or like, it's an old friend, Can you do something? Either give it right back to him on the other end, but I don't know, get a stop. You know what I mean? Can Devin disrupt him? Can Keldon disrupt him? That's what I want to see.
And then attack DeMar. Like you played with this guy for however many years that he was on our team, so how he reacts defensively.
Yeah.
He's by no means
I know Chris likes bringing up like if any of our guys fall for his pump fakes. Then come on,
it'll probably happen. But I will say, like in that same kind of vein of like almost like mentor mentee kind of thing, or used to be teammates and the age difference and all that. Last year everything's very cordial, and it still is always going to be very cordial between us and DeMar. But I am looking forward to that more of like, okay, like our young guys are older now, and so we're ready to take you on as equals almost. You know what I mean? Or let's see what we got, and it be a little bit more in your face, a little bit more competitive, a little less cordial. I'm down. I'm totally down if the game gets to be a little bit like that. You know what I mean? And Zach LaVine too. I mean, it's a double-edged sword with both of those guys. So
DeMar,
if Zach
LaVine probably thinking the same.
I don't know. Is Zach LaVine out?
Like,
I was gonna say if you could check the injury report. I don't know if I've seen Zach LaVine on the court at all.
On the CBS website, it has Lonzo Ball as their only injury, but that was as oh my god, wait, hang on, this is way old.
Lonzo's out. Lonzo has like
That's way old.
Indefinitely.
Yeah, he's
Lonzo's
definitely
out
100%.
indefinitely.
No, I know, but I'm saying he's the only one that was listed as But let me see, because that actually the date of that was pretty old.
Yeah. So we have
ESP, no, even ESPN's which is as of October. Well, it says October 3rd though. That's so
again,
long time
but
ago.
that's because Lonzo's out indefinitely because there's no.
I know, but they
update on his
usually
situation.
keep the IR pages up to date. But even on CBS and ESPN both just have Lonzo Ball as their only guy on their list.
Yep.
So maybe we will see Zach LaVine. That'll be a lot harder. But again, another thing to look forward to is Devin putting what he did out on the last 2 games of last week and continuing with that progress. Let's see more. Let's see more 20-point games. Let's see good defense. What if we are getting another 4 steals this week? Something like that, right? Like just to like Juan said, consistency. I want to see some consistency from Devin Vassell because he's in his 3rd year. We got to see that next step. And
I'll say this before I guess we finish or whatever. Primo, he's averaging 5 assists a game. He's making a lot of the right passes. He's, to me, I don't know to you guys if he seems passive, not really trying to get his shot. But if he can just knock down the shots that he's actually taking within the offense and still averaging 5 points a game, and if he are averaging 5 assists and he's 10 and 5 off the bench right now, I'll take it. I want to see him. Personally would like to see him a little bit more aggressive and taking shots. Finding his own shot. But I'm gonna be, as long as he's averaging high assist numbers. I think he had 7 one of the nights, 7 assists. I'll take it. That's my point guard.
I think I was perfectly assessing the Primo situation in the sense that like I think it's still great for him to be on the bench, and that he's like learning. He's still getting things situated, because Trey Jones looks super comfortable out there, and sometimes Primo looks comfortable out there, and then sometimes he's throwing like this outward pass to Josh Richardson, and it's going 30 yards above his head, and Josh Richardson can't make the catch.
30 yards.
So, I think I'm excited to see Primo do his thing, but I also think, to me personally, I think I had already kind of set that bar of like.
So Zach LaVine's not hurt because he just scored 22 last night.
He scored 22 last night. Okay.
Yeah.
And then for Minnesota, the only one on their IR is Kyle Anderson is missing today's game.
Not slow-mo.
So we'll get to see well, I guess we probably won't get to see him, but another small, return. Also, Bryn Forbes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Not the Bryn Forbes revenge game.
They're coming for us.
Yeah. I mean, like Minnesota. When I'm looking at their like depth chart, so their second unit, it says Jordan McLaughlin, Jalen Noel, Torian Prince, Kyle Anderson, Naz Reid. Honestly, I like the idea of, or I like our chances at least to see like what our second unit can do. I look forward to Josh Primo kind of continuing to settle in and kind of see what can he provide for that bench unit. And then the Bulls too, their second unit, Alex Caruso, Derek Jones Jr., Javonte Green, Andre Drummond. That's a fun matchup for our bench to.
And they're like 1 and 2, and they got hoopers on their squad too.
Yeah, well, they lost, I think, at like the buzzer to Washington.
Has Andre Drummond attempted a 3 in the regular season? I don't know if y'all saw him.
I saw him hitting threes in the preseason.
He was knocking down threes in the preseason. I just don't know if he was knocking down threes, if he's been trying to attempt threes yet. Let me go to Chicago.
While he's pulling that up too, like on the same topic of like tests for Sohan and possibly like Roby, like Patrick Williams too at the 4, Patrick and Vucevic, like that duo, that's gonna be fun. Either Roby or Sohan, or I mean I guess KBD, but like I feel like that Javonte Green, like that's a point of attack right there against a second unit.
So Andre Drummond has attempted a 3. He hasn't made it. He didn't make it, but he did attempt a 3. So we might be seeing a stretch big Andre Drummond going against us on Friday.
Nice. Oh, and still talking about that second unit, like Primo against Alex Caruso will be a fun matchup too.
Is Goran Dragic their starter?
I
thought it was Ayo, right?
Ayo Dosunmu. Yeah, Ayo. Sorry,
so, Ayo Dosunmu, right? He was that second round pick, a good steal for them. But So going against a veteran point guard in Goran, that'll be something, on the defensive end. Looking out for
Goran
Primo.
or Alex Caruso, whichever one they ended up throwing out there, or maybe
Yeah.
both. It probably is
Probably
like
play
a
both. You
1-2.
probably play 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that Kobe White guy too.
And Kobe White, yeah.
But is
See,
he?
they're a little small coming off the bench as well.
Kobe White's, to be honest, probably further down the depth chart now with their
We'll let him and,
with
Trey
AO
Jones
or
battle.
IO.
He's getting 26 minutes a game. That's not bad.
Who is?
Kobe White.
Whoa.
We got a lot of guards getting a lot of minutes. So we got Goran Dragic 17.8 minutes.
Yeah, I
Io
was gonna say, it's
getting
probably Goran. Goran's like he's getting a little ancient now these days.
He's
Yeah,
36 years old.
Yeah,
Goran-
Goran's old now. I mean, he's not the
Goran-
Goran of old.
So Goran's getting 18. Io DeSumo's getting 31. Kobe White 26 and Alex Caruso 25. That's like their guard rotation, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They probably play the 1, 2, and 3. They probably just have
We'll have them
positionless
three.
basketball.
It's crazy. It's like what everybody does, right? So I think there's a lot of individual things for our guys that we'll be looking out for this week. I know there's honestly quite a lot that we didn't even get to in this episode that we'll be seeing from our guys. We'll be seeing a lot more from. I think Juan brought up Josh Primo, but like we didn't talk about Josh Primo until that point, So there's always a lot to look forward to in this young team, and that's very exciting. But guys, before we do finish this up, do y'all have any last things to look forward to in the week?
For this week specifically, no. I mean, good tests. We'll see. We'll see. I would love if we can, like what Juan said of learning from our mistakes and using that Minnesota thing. Let's try to see growth over the next couple of days. If we could get a victory, at least one victory out of the 3 Minnesota games, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to see consistency. Like Devin, you can't just like average 12 points this week. You're up there. You gotta do it every week now, and that's part of being like a guy in this league. So Devin's got to show up, and Keldon's our top dog, and he's gonna bring the juice every night. I love his energy. It's amazing.
Josh?
No, I'm curious to see if Roby gets minutes.
Yeah.
Because I like stretch fours, and if he could knock down some shots, Sohan better watch out. That boy's gonna come for that job.
Well, hopefully he could just play over Keita off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I like I like him. I would like a stretch four, because I mean, if we're shooting the ball, if that's what y'all want to do, then I would rather have Roby out there.
In that starting lineup, I agree, but I think either like putting Sohan or Roby like as a bench four over Keita, I think is.
Oh yeah,
kinda
yeah.
just for this
I
team.
would say them 1 and 2.
That's
The
the first step that we need to make is to get Isaiah Roby over Keita Bates before we can even say that.
But Jeremy's not afraid to let it fly
true.
if he's open, and he had a pretty clutch 3. He had his foot on the line in the preseason.
Well,
but
even last game he had that nice little pump pulled up, and I'm like, that looks good. Like that's what we need.
Yeah, exactly. So if he can start, I agree though. If Isaiah Roby, because I like what I see from him, if he can start getting a little bit of fire, and if you think it's better for if the coaches think it's better for Jeremy to kind of just get like a little bit more playing time off the bench instead of getting more comfortable, and Roby's playing fine, I'm okay with that interchangeable forward right there.
Same.
Me too.
And then just we'll bring it up next week too. But in trying to get looks for Blake and for Malachi, the Austin Spurs have their first action November 4th. So we're getting closer to at least getting an avenue for those guys to start playing more.
Yep.
I wouldn't even mind if Romeo Langford decides that he wants to, if he pulls the Corjo and
has a breakout year in the G League kind of thing.
Yeah, well, like he just tells the front office himself, like, hey, if I'm not getting PT here, then I should go take me to Austin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me go to Austin.
He got a little bit on that game 1, I think, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. In that fourth quarter.
So I wouldn't mind seeing that happen if he wants it, right? But Before I do wrap this up, we do this. All four of us brothers do get on to talk some Spurs basketball. We usually like to we'll have these conversations outside of a podcast, and we like to have these big discussions. So we're just bringing it on to y'all every Sunday, from at 10 a.m.s on all four platforms of
10
Facebook,
a.m.s. I
YouTube.
like that.
Yeah, he said that. He said that at the beginning whenever I was watching my phone. I was like, "What the hell did he just say?"
10 a.m.s.
10
10
a.m.
a.m.s.
All
10
of 'em.
a.m.s. That's exactly right. So we come to y'all at 10 a.m. On all four platforms of Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. All of which you'll be able to watch us live. And if you can't catch us right then and there, our VODs do show up on all four platforms right thereafter. Be looking out for the clips. I posted out a couple from this last week, and I'll be continuing to do the same thing through this week. So we had a lot of good discussion for us to be able to have some good clips in, and also keep looking out for Jake's weekly challenge. Keep looking out for the.
Those would be
the
fun to watch
weekly
on their own
quiz.
as a segment.
Exactly. So it's fun to have that little bit of quiz talk, so that I know that my brothers are keeping on their toes when it comes to the weekly stuff. So with that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Cowboys going to be on here in 20 minutes, so let's go Cowboys.
Yeah. Follow us on
Jackson coming
Twitter.
back. Follow
Shout out
us
to
on
Dom
Twitter.
2K.
Shout out to Dom 2K. Shout out to Kenny for responding, talking to HHC. We're excited to keep things moving for us. But with that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we are out. Peace.